What up, cucks? It's your boy the Hater once again, and Hater Mania begins early this year. Like I said, cuckolds, it's time for your boy to do this on a full-time basis, motherfucks. Not exactly sure how that's gonna look like, but I'm gonna aim for one video a day, motherfucks. One video a day. Now, in case I don't post a video on some days, like if it's fucking Thanksgiving or Christmas or something, well, then I got two words for you, you know? Lick my bag, motherfuckers. Lick my bag. That's 3 words. Now, let's get to the topic at hand, all right? The return of Edge, okay? Now, the truth is that Edge is obviously the most relevant AEW signing of all time, right? Edge is essentially what Sting was and what Kurt Angle was, but more like a Sting, to be honest, for TNA, right? Sting was like 48, 49, or 47 or some bullshit, right, when he signed with TNA, I think. He was already like an older guy, right? But he was still in very good shape. He still is in very good shape, but he was in very good shape, and while he was in that very good shape, he was able to put on some great matches. I mean, you know, some of them were classics. I mean, let's be real. Like, some of the matches were really, really entertaining, and Sting did a lot of his, I mean, I won't say his best work, but definitely, like, if you were to do a highlight of Sting's career, you would have to include, like, 20 or 30% of those matches would have to come from TNA, because a lot of the old Sting matches were also boring as hell, you know what I mean? So, Sting is great. I really enjoy Sting, and I really enjoy Edge. Now, the best thing about this is that this pushes forward what I've been arguing for literally my entire time as a wrestling fan. That Christian Cage is the best wrestler of all time, in my opinion, right? This man totally gets it, and he has legitimately reinvented himself once again, right? Now, the gimmick is nuanced, right? It's basically, he's like an evil stepfather, if you will, right? He's like those kind of people that, like, you know, they go and they, like, marry, like, a rich woman, and they, like, take all her money, you know what I mean? Like, he's like that, like in the movie, what's it called, that show, Dirty John, he's like that, right? So he's basically everyone's, like, father figure, but he's, like, not a good guy, right? So, the fact that we're going to see Edge versus Christian at some point is going to be insane. Now, I think this is the time to really pull the trigger on this feud. Christian needs to win the feud, right? If this feud ends and Edge just wins, that's lame, right? It makes a lot more sense that if Christian wins, then they can have their tag run, and then they can do whatever the fuck they want. In my opinion, they should be able to continue. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this idea that, like, oh, we're getting there, it's our last run. Like, what the fuck kind of bullshit is that? No, it's not. Sting's still doing just fine. Now, I get it. Sting's not like, you know, spring chicken, but he's also like 65, motherfucks. So Edge and Christian can keep doing this for many, many years if they want to, right? Maybe not going as hard in the ring, but nevertheless, they can have a presence in WWE. They're not old, right? Now, coincidentally, motherfucks, AEW also has the Hardy Boys. So the next logical step will be for AEW to take the Dudley Boys and do like a TLC, right? Now, obviously, it's not going to rival all of the old TLCs, at least not if you're just for time, right? But it could be better than all of them if you just do them independently, right? Because the first few were like their old matches, so it's like a lot of the stuff that they did in those matches were just amazing because we've never seen it before. Like, we've never seen someone get speared while holding on to something before. Now we've seen it, so, you know, if they do it again, it's not going to feel as special, right? But because of that, they might be able to have the best match ever, right? Like, all 6 of those guys can still go. You know what I mean? Like, none of them are, like, old and can't do anything, right? Maybe, like, Matt Hardy and Devon, who, like, I mean, Devon hasn't wrestled in a while except for, like, the TNA appearance. And then Matt Hardy, who's, like, you know, I feel like he's the more broken down of, like, the 2 Hardys, right? But Edge and Christian are fine. Like, they just came back from, like, you know, they just restarted their careers a few years ago. So, long story short, cucks, the point I'm trying to make here is this. This is a golden opportunity for AEW to do something, right? When Edge debuted, the entire premise of the show was that Christian Cage is, for some reason, in the main event against Darby Allin, right? I mean, there are some reasons, like Darby Allin is, you know, fucking from Seattle, so okay, you give him a little bit of a boost. Christian is obviously like the hottest thing in AEW, so, you know, nothing wrong with him being in the main event. But here's the problem, motherfucks. Earlier in the show, in like the opening match or some bullshit, it was MJF versus like 2 tag jobbers, right? MJF, the World Heavyweight Champion, motherfucks, versus 2 tag jobbers for the tag team titles, the ROH tag team titles, right? this really shows that MJF has had what I think can only be described as a shit title reign. It's one of the worst title reigns of all time, but more of that in a video, right? A different video. Now, the problem with this is you could easily have done the same exact thing, but made Christian the World Heavyweight Champion. Let's be real. Anyone who understands wrestling knows that Christian Cage is more fit to be a world champion than MJF. He's better than MJF at literally everything there is to do in wrestling, right? He's got a much better look, right? He's better looking. He's bigger than him. He's taller than him, right? He's more believable. I know MJF is like more beefy, but he's just not believable. MJF just like, I feel like he's just a pussy, you know what I mean? Like Christian looks like a real man, right? He's better in the ring. That's not even close. You know what I'm saying? The things that Christian has done throughout his career make him one of the best of all time in the ring. Like never botches anything, right? Jumps off ladders, does all this crazy shit. MJF has an armbar finisher. I rest my case. In terms of charisma, it's not even close. Obviously, Captain Charisma is Captain Charisma, and MJF is just the Miz ripoff, right? So, with all that being said, it's like, who is actually benefiting from MJF being the world champion? Nobody, motherfuckers. Not even MJF. I mean, arguably, if anyone is, it's MJF, so he can go to WWE, and they can just, kind of like, book him as like a credible threat to, let's say, Cody Rhodes or something, because that's what he's going to do. He's going to just reignite his AEW feuds. Like, I don't see MJF going anywhere in WWE. I mean, like, he might have like a LA Knight type career before like LA Knight got big, but I don't think MJF will ever get as over as as LA Knight. You know what I mean? Like he just can't. Not with a mainstream audience. With a fat neckbeard audience, he might be able to do that. But like the neckbeard audience is gonna give him like a Miz style reception, I think. And then except for the fact that Miz is actually good, so he got over. And I don't think MJF is gonna be capable of doing that. I can just see MJF, turning into the next like Bobby Roode. You know what I mean? And that's actually a great example because Bobby Roode, for a long time, was like the MJF of his time, right? He's the next big thing. He's a big deal. How is TNA not making him champion? Then they make him champion, and then he becomes a jobber in the main roster, right? He even has a good NXT run. Like MJF might be an NXT champion, but it's like he's not gonna have a better run than like Nakamura. I don't think, at least. Maybe. I hope he does. Who cares, right? But the point is, motherfuckers, why is MJF, right? Especially considering that you have Edge coming, right? Why is MJF the world champion, right? Who the hell wants to see MJF defend his title against Adam Cole? That should be a cruiserweight match. Like, that's just stupid. It's like you have Edge and Christian in this company, right? And like, they're both willing to wrestle each other. And the main event picture, the quote-unquote, when I say main event, because it's not really the main event. Like, no way that if you have like a pay-per-view with MJF versus Adam Cole, and then you have Christian versus Edge, that Adam Cole and MJF, two NXT jobbers, are going to close that show. Absolutely not. You know what I mean? But if they're not going to close it, one of them shouldn't be the world champion, right? MJF has had a shit title run. As a matter of fact, I would argue that aside from Chris Jericho and maybe a little bit Jon Moxley, every title run in this company for the world heavyweight title has been shit. They've all been bad, right? Nobody came out better than they came in, right? That's another video for another time. We'll do that later, motherfuckers. But the point is, the worst thing that AEW could have done is keep the World Heavyweight title hostage in the hopes that MJF becomes their big star. It's never going to happen, motherfuckers. It's just never going to happen. MJF is not The Rock. Like, he's never going to be able to draw millions of people. He's not. He's just another wrestler. He's like a Kevin Owens. He's like a Sami Zayn. He's like a, Carmelo Hayes. He's like in that category of like B-ish players, right? Like, he's not complete shit, don't get me wrong. But he's never going to bring back wrestling to what it was. And that's exactly what AEW needs. But you know what might? Edge, Christian, the Hardys, and the Dudleys, that might actually get people talking again. You know what I mean? Like, imagine this, motherfuckers. Obviously, most wrestling fans are lapsed. They don't watch wrestling anymore. But I'm sure some of them periodically go and watch highlights on YouTube and shit like that, right? So, aside from those fans, most fans are WWE fans. And obviously, since WWE has been around for longer, they have some old fans, right? These some old fans have children. Most of them probably don't, because most of them are probably like virgins, but that's either here or there, right? A lot of them are going to have children, right? Jokes aside. A lot of them are going to have children. So with all this in mind, right? Imagine if you're a fan who either just only watches Raw and you don't care, right? You just watch Raw passively, or you're a lapsed fan that stopped watching in 2004, right? And you hear, there's going to be a TLC match, and you're going to be like, that's weird. Like, who's in it? Is it another one of those shitty TLC pay-per-views where it's like Grayson Waller versus like, Mahabali Shira, or, like irrelevant people that they shouldn't even be in the company, you know what I mean? So, and then someone's going to be like, no, what do you mean? It's going to be just like the first TLC. And the person's going to say, what? And then the other person's going to say, it's going to be the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. And they're like, what? They're back in WWE? They're going to say, no, they're in AEW, right? Pause right there. Eventually, the person's going to say, what the fuck is AEW? Because believe it or not, motherfuckers, most people don't know what AEW is, right? And then that might get a few people to watch AEW. And then if they book that show, right, really well, like if they have something like, I don't know, Sting versus Jeff Jarrett, right? Some legendary type shit, or like bring Kurt Angle in for a match. Kurt Angle versus Sting. I don't know, right? Do something cool. Do Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle. I don't care, right? Make the matches good. Show off the people that are actually draws, like fucking the Acclaimed, or and sprinkle in some old people to give it some legitimacy, right? Like when people that haven't seen Billy Gunn for 20 years see that Billy Gunn looks the way he does, they're gonna be like, holy shit, this is cool, right? Put in Jericho, right? Stop wasting time with people like Daniel Garcia. You know what I mean? That shit's never gonna work, right? They can make a big time pay-per-view that showcases youthfulness as well as old people, right? Old legendary people. Maybe the match right before the TLC match for the tag team titles might be, I don't know, the Young Bucks versus like Private Party, or two newer teams, right? To show that like, and you can make that match for the number one contendership, but to show that like that there are new teams. Basically, the point I'm trying to make, motherfuckers, is that this has to be booked correctly, right? AEW is wasting time with shit talent like MJF, and it's detracting from the few good things they are doing extremely well. Like Christian cannot sell the show by himself. He should be in the main event every week. So should Edge, right? He shouldn't be like maybe they're going that direction because now they're going to do like Christian versus Daniel Bryan on Friday, right? But it's like, which I guess is today, motherfucks. But like at the same time, it's like Christian should win that match clean in like 10 minutes. Like Daniel Bryan is on the way out, which is crazy to say because Christian is like 50 years old almost. Daniel Bryan is like he must be in his late 30s by now. Daniel Bryan has gotten all these artificial pushes, right? Like he's gotten world titles that he doesn't deserve. He's gotten WrestleMania main events that he sure as shit doesn't deserve, right? Whereas Christian is the opposite. He's gotten held back, right? But despite this, somehow, even though Christian's 50 and has had no opportunities, Daniel Bryan is like 38 or whatever, and has had all opportunities, Christian is still more entertaining than Daniel Bryan in the present day, right? Also, it's unbelievable that Daniel Bryan would beat up Christian. It's just silly. Oh, he knows leg locks. He trained with Randy Couture. Fuck him. And fuck Randy Couture. What do you think of them apples? The point is, motherfucks, Christian should beat Daniel Bryan clean. Edge should go on like a win streak. And this should culminate in one of two ways, right? Or both, ideally. Edge versus Christian. Christian wins, right? Then they reform Edge and Christian. Then they have the TLC. And then after that, they can go and do like fun gimmick things. I don't give a shit, right? And I'm not saying that these things have to happen now. They can happen over the next few years. But the point I'm trying to make is that there needs to be like a logical conclusion to this, right? And those are the two logical conclusions. And the underpinnings of this logical conclusion, motherfuckers, are that this needs to be the main event, right? This is too big to go on after fucking Adam Cole. You know what I'm saying? These are people that never made it. Well, that being said, motherfuckers, take care of yourselves and fuck your own asses.